Hey guys, what's up? Thank you for joining me today on this another video on this YouTube channel. I hope that you are finding this a good resource for you in your Christian walk with God, in your relationship with Him, and in your relationship with Jesus Christ. My name is Lee Collins. I am the full-time minister here at the Paoli Church of Christ in Paoli, Indiana. I'm not even sure that I've said that before in some of the other videos, but that's what I do. That's where I'm at, and that's what I'm about. I'm about teaching people about Jesus Christ and helping them in their relationship with God and their relationship about Christ. And so I hope that you are finding this channel to be a good resource in helping you with your walk with the Lord. Today I want to talk to you about a passage that I think is very interesting, and it's interesting in the fact that we see Jesus do something that we normally don't see Jesus do. In this passage that we're talking about today, we are we're going to see Jesus curse a fig tree. This story comes to us from either the book of Matthew in chapter 21 and starting with verse 18 there and going through verse 22, or you can also find this story in the book of Mark chapter 11, and that's going to start with verses 11 and verses 12 and 13, and then there's going to be the cleansing of the temple in the book of Mark, and then it's going to be the lessons are going to be picked up again in verse 20 of the book of Mark in that same chapter, chapter 11. Matthew just kind of condenses the story down for us and just doesn't separate it with the cleansing of the temple, though it happens around the same time because Jesus and his disciples are coming back from Bethany. Finish his triumphal entry. They leave Jerusalem. They go to Bethany. He's coming back now to Jerusalem from Bethany, and along the way he starts to get hungry. He sees a fig tree, and the fig tree is in full leaf, which means that the figs are ripe and they are ready to be picked and eaten, even though it wasn't the season for fig trees to be ready for fruit. But still yet, here is a fig tree that looks good. It looks like it has fruit on it. Jesus goes up to it, finds nothing on it, and he decides to use this as a teaching event for his disciples. Now, again, because he's already gone through the triumphal entry, he is really turning his teaching to the disciples, and he is really bringing home some lessons for them that they need to know. And it is lessons that we, as followers of Jesus Christ, also need to know. And this one is a very important lesson for us. So why does Jesus curse this fig tree? Jesus is not a hater of fig trees. He's not just trying to be mean. He is teaching us a spiritual lesson. And that spiritual lesson is that we need to be producing fruit. Now, ordinarily, when we talk about producing fruit, we're talking about how we bring others to Christ, how we bring others to the church. And while bringing people to Christ is part of that fruit producing that Jesus wants us to do, it's not all of it. As a matter of fact, the fruit produced first is what Jesus is going to talk about here in this passage. This fruit that happens within us personally is going to be fruit that needs to be produced first before we will ever produce fruit of the other kind, bringing people to Jesus Christ. And so we are to be fruit producers. And that fruit that Jesus wants to see, that fruit that needs to be produced, is fruit that is within us, and it's change. It's change that Jesus wants to see. He wants to see change in our hearts and in our minds. And again, that is something that the disciples must have as they are going to continue on the work when Jesus leaves, and that time is drawing near that Jesus is going to leave them. And so here we see Jesus teaching them valuable lessons. Now, today is the church. We have that same job. We have that same responsibility to continue on that work. And if we're going to do that in the very best way, if we're going to do that in an effective way, even if we're going to do that at all, we really must have fruit that is produced from within us personally. A change of heart, a change of mind. It is about our relationship with God. In this lesson, Jesus is going to talk about prayer and belief and forgiveness, all of those things that happen within us before we can share that with the world. And so Jesus is telling his disciples, that's the fruit that I want you to produce. And if you don't produce that fruit, then you're not fulfilling your responsibility. Our purpose in this life is the same. Our purpose in this life is to get to heaven ourselves and to take as many people with us as we can. And we won't do that if we are not producing that fruit from within. We won't do that fruit producing if we are bringing people to Christ, if we don't first change from within and produce that kind of fruit first. And that's what Jesus is talking about. And if we're not doing that, then we are useless. And as useless, something that's useless, then we're good for nothing but to wither and die. We're not going to be able to enjoy the life that God tells us about as he defines life, which is really eternal life. And so Jesus is telling his disciples, this is your purpose. This is what you must do. And to carry on that work, you have to have that fruit being produced in yourself. This is a lesson actually that I'm going to give to the Paoli Church of Christ. This is a lesson that I'm going to bring in more detail on a Sunday lesson in a sermon form, and we'll look at it in more detail. But the short answer is that Jesus cursed that tree because it didn't produce fruit. It looked good. It looked like it was doing all the right thing, and we can do that. We can have that same kind of thing going on in our life. We can look like we are doing everything right. We can go to worship and we can sing the songs and we can pray, but where's our heart? What are we doing in that? Are we allowing God to enact a change in us? Is God changing us from within so that we can do the work from without? And so that's what this is. That's what this is about. And it's not about just how we look. It is about that real change and being that real person of God, being that real child of God. And that happens from within. So think about those things. Be fruit producers in more ways than just bringing people to Christ. First and foremost, be fruit producers with your personal relationship with the Lord, your belief in God, your prayer life, your forgiveness, how you forgive. Be that kind of fruit producing Christian, that kind of fruit producing person, and the other kind of fruit producing will follow. I hope this has been helpful to you. Think about that fruit producing that we are to be doing, and let's go out there and make a change in this world. And we can see as people of God that we need change in this world. We need to get back to the Lord, and that means being good fruit producers, first in ourselves and then for other people. So do that. Share this a video around. Make sure that people see this. Make sure they know about the channel, and maybe it'll be a resource for them as well. We want to invite you to be with us at the Paoli Church of Christ. If you are in the area in Paoli, Indiana, please come and join us. If you need help being that fruit producer, make a comment here on this page, or you can find our information on our Facebook page, Paoli Church of Christ Facebook, or our home site, which is paolichurchofchrist.org in Paoli, Indiana. So please reach out to us and let us help you if we can. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button so that you can get a notification when videos become available. Again, what I really want is for this to be a resource for you in your Christian walk with the Lord, and I hope it is doing that. And I hope that we can work together to help each other in that Christian walk. Okay, thank you for tuning in again. I appreciate you, love you. Be fruit producers out there in the world so that we can make a change in this world, and pray about that change. That's part of what that fruit producing is. Be sure you read the text, Matthew chapter 21, and starting with verse 18, read that text, and again, think about the things that Jesus says within that. Okay, thank you guys. Love you. See you next time.